everybody. Welcome to the Lancaster Community Library. I'm the director, Alice Cooper, and this is our last program in our series, A Special Evening With. This is our 6th program in our 2nd year, and we're really glad to have Doug Mott here. I will mention this also is our last week of our summer reading program. We've had 7 solid weeks of lots of activities for all ages, and we have 2 events on Friday I'd like to point out. So hope you can join us on Friday at 3:30 right up here for bingo. And then once we're finished with bingo across the park at 5 o'clock. We're going to have
It's here.
It's going to be here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have at 5 o'clock the first annual Kilmarnock Scott Talent Show. So hope you can come to that as well. And if you come to talent you'd like to share, sign up online. So I'd like to introduce Doug Mott. He's our featured speaker this evening. He was the former executive director of the RAL Art Center, had his own arts education business for children in Richmond, and so we're really excited, Doug, to have you here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. A huge crowd. I don't know if they saved the best for last or not. I'm not quite sure how to take that.
Absolutely.
I looked at the schedule and said, I'm last on the hit list, so I don't know. I'm sorry it's 100 degrees outside, but we'll cool down a little bit. My name is Doug Mott. I'll tell you a quick snapshot about me. I spent almost 20 years in corporate America, got fed up with that, decided to do something more meaningful, left that ride, and started a company called Young Rembrandts, where we taught children how to draw in cartoon, giving them some fundamental skills in the arts area. I started pursuing my art again at the time, and the rest is history. So I'm 57 this week, and I am happy as anything where I am. So my mom is here, so you better be nice. If not, she's going to throw something at you. So before I get started, our topic tonight is the importance of art for children. How many have kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and you're here for just to get a snapshot of what I want to say? Linda?
Kids.
Both?
No great kids, just kids.
Okay, just now. How about you?
No kids, but I taught kids, worked with kids.
So you're an educator?
Yes, all
Okay.
that type of good stuff. So,
Okay. What grades, ages, stages of life?
I'm not right now, but primarily in the past, preschool, pre-K.
Okay.
So,
Those are great ones. Get them when they're young.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I like artsy stuff. I like arts, and I thought, it might be interesting for me to
Good.
come out and see what you have to say.
Well, my goal tonight is for you to open your eyes and your minds a little bit to understand the importance of art and that it's not just a fun activity. My mom has got some artistic skills. I'm I guess I'd say a professional watercolorist, and when I'm in my studio, I'm in total blissful happiness. I escape the craziness of the world, and I feel like it makes me a better person. So the way I've structured the presentation, it's a PowerPoint slide. I don't intend to read it to you. I will highlight certain things from the presentation. You can ask questions throughout the presentation. You can hold your questions to the end. It's not like it's a huge crowd. So I will be happy to address anything I can in any order. So without further ado, I want to talk a little bit about misconceptions of art, because this is where my blood starts to boil a bit and I need more anti-anxiety medication, because a lot of schools today are thinking that art is more of an entertaining type of a project and a task for kids. And they're really not focusing on the importance that it has both for their personal and their academic performance. And as all extracurricular activities in the school systems nowadays, they're being cut if they're not linked to the academic side of things. So music is being cut, physical education is being cut, visual arts are being cut, creative movement is being cut, and it's really a shame, because without giving these children the full brain development, they are only going to be so successful in today's society. So my focus tonight is going to be on the visual arts, and that is drawing, painting, sculpting, pottery, clay, not so much on music and dance, but they all interconnect. But my focus tonight is going to be on the visual arts. You know, the last paragraph here is important. Creating art isn't just a fun, colorful pastime. It really creates opportunities for children to take significant skills for the rest of their life into their life. So, you know, as we go through the presentation tonight, I hope that you start to make some connections where art helps these children become better humans. Okay? A lot of parents I see in the classes that I teach and in the camps that I run that, you know, it's just too messy, I'm not going to let them do it, or that's why I send them to you because you can do it and you can manage the mess. But it's more than the mess, and you'll learn a little bit more about that as we go. You know, our job, regardless of whether we have kids, I mean, I don't have children, but our job as big kids is to inspire every child we have an opportunity to inspire. You know, from the preschool world, those are blank canvases, if I can throw out a pun. They need us big time. And
I was an elementary teacher.
you were, okay. Are you in the garden club? Okay.
I've been around.
It's Kilmarnock, it's Hallmark Town. We've all been here, so.
I've been at the art gallery.
Yeah, that's right. Let's talk about some statistics, all right? For children that participate in the arts are 4 times more likely to take part in a math or a science fair. Why do you think that is? Four times more likely. Those that are working in the creative world of art, if they're working on a project and the project requires them to build something or to conceive something, they're more apt to participate in that. So there's a direct link to math and science. You know, math fair, science fair. 3 times more likely to have good school attendance and win an award for it. When I ran my company in Richmond, the biggest compliment I got was that when a parent would come up after class and say, it was Wednesday, it was Sally's favorite day of the week because she knew she had Mr. Doug in the art class. So, you know, there's something to be said for having a program or a class that a child is excited about, and they look forward to their day because they know it's coming. You know, wouldn't it be great if we could have art every day of the week in schools? Wonder what that would do for statistics and driving attendance, you know. 4 times more likely to be recognized and acknowledged for academic achievements. Part of my goal tonight is to make you recognize the connection to the visual arts and academic success go hand in hand. And you'll understand more of that as we go. Kids are 3 times more likely to stand for and be elected to a class office. Why do you think that is? Confidence, okay? Self-confidence, self-esteem, feeling a sense of responsibility. I can make a difference, okay? They're likely to have higher SAT scores. I read statistics and studies all the time trying to find that magic report that says, yes, here's your connection. The visual arts, the musical arts, the cultural arts, they have a significant impact on test scores. If I was running the American education system, I'd get rid of all these standards of learning and stop making kids memorize questions and expand their brain and get involved in everything they possibly can. They're less likely to drop out of school, and they're more likely to gain employment after school due to their creativity. When I was in corporate America and I was hiring salespeople, one of the things I looked for most in a candidate was their ability to realize they can get to their destination one of 10 different directions. And I didn't hire a lot of people because I felt like they were a one-trick pony. They could only do it one way. And the arts teach you that there is many ways to get to the final destination. So I agree with that one. I think kids that participate in the arts, my niece was in dance, and her dance instructor said most of the girls and boys that had been dancing their whole career as children were straight A students like my niece, and they're overachievers. You know, my niece is right there. I mean, she's one of them, and she was a little clumsy, a little klutzy, but she was, that experience helped her develop to be a better human, all right? Now, before I go to the next thing, what's the best part of art? I ask my kids this all the time in classes and in camps. What's the best part of art? The most exciting thing about art. Okay, you're big kids. Yes?
There's no right or wrong?
No right or wrong. There's no wrong answers. In today's academic standards, it's right or it's wrong. And if they get it wrong, they know it because their schools don't get extra money, their teachers are questioned why they didn't get a passing score, and it's really deflating for children, especially young children, to hear that it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. So by participating in the arts, whether you're dancing or playing the piano or the saxophone, there's really no wrong way to get to your final destination. There's no wrong answers, and that's an important thing. Let's talk about some skill development. You know this from the preschool market, preschool world. We just finished a semester teaching at the new Lancaster Early Childhood Education Center. I was teaching about every other week, every other Monday. These kids need us so badly. A lot of these children come from, at-risk or lower-income families, and they need opportunities like us to know that there's a way they can do, create, and develop that is rewarded and praised. Fine motor skills. Those are the small little muscles in your hands. And I've read many, many articles about principals in elementary schools around the country saying there's so many children starting school that are weak and unable to hold a pencil. They can't use a crayon properly. And why is that? They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything in school. They're, the preschools are trying their best with the time they have available for them. But fine motor development, think about that. You're using scissors, right? You're learning how to hold a pencil. You are using pressure to apply ink to a piece of paper. All those things are building those muscles in those little teeny hands that will eventually result in them having some success down the road. The worst thing a kindergarten teacher can do is have half of her class or his class ready and half unprepared. Because then what do? You're stuck. You're stuck, and you're not being the most effective teacher you can be because you're trying to help these come up the curve while these are bored and getting unruly. So from a very early start, if they don't have that fine motor development, they're going to be behind. Okay? Gross motor skill. Gross motor skill involves the larger muscles. Okay? How many kids do you know from preschool that needed to use those large muscles all the time? Running, jumping, up, down, not sitting, not paying attention, not doing what they needed to do. How does gross motor skill work in the world of visual arts? It's all about reach. It's all about strength. It's all about taking clay, developing and molding clay. Think about what that does. Clay can be stiff, leaning, doing things that push these kids to use the larger muscles in their core muscles to become stronger. Okay, that's not as beneficial. It's not as critical as the fine motor at a young age, but the gross motor skill. Matt Lively out of Richmond, Virginia, he's a muralist. I mean, I've seen that poor man hang all kinds of up one side, down the other, on the side of a building painting murals. And, if he didn't have the strength to do that, he wouldn't be able to. So, gross motor skill. Hand-eye coordination. This just goes without saying. How do I know where I'm putting this mark if my eyes and my hands aren't working in conjunction with each other? So there are things and activities that you can do with young children. I know Alice works with her hands. She knits and she does beautiful fiber art pieces. And if her eyes didn't work, she wouldn't be able to do that so much. All right? So for the young child, getting them to fully develop that hand-eye coordination is only going to benefit them. Let's say they have a job in a manufacturing facility and they have to put components together, it's really important, and let art be one of those aspects to help these kids develop that ability to take nuts and put it on a bolt, and put bolts in a hunk of steel, and the steel becomes a car, so you don't think about it that way, but art has a connection to that early skill set that might become part of their career for the rest of their life. Okay? Creativity. and problem-solving skills. I bet if I were to interview new college graduates today and ask them, what is the easiest way to get out of this brown paper bag? They would look at me like I have 10 heads. Because they've been spoon-fed their entire lives and given everything that they wanted, or they tried. And they have zero ability to solve problems. You know, in a paper bag, there's only one way out. See the light go through, or you can shoot through it, or I can use my fine motor hands and rip through it. But I guarantee some of these hiring managers are like befuddled at what they're interviewing because these kids need to have this ability. So, sorry for the bouncing text. I figured I'd keep you awake. Art projects begin with a creative spark or an idea or something that they want to try to create, and then they have to figure out how to do it. If you read anything about in children's literature or in scientific studies about kids and their development, we all hear the left brain, right brain. Left brain is what? Logic, sequence. The right brain is creativity and, freedom of thought. The truth is, the last sentence, both sides need to work together, and art is an extremely valuable tool to make that creative concept start and finish to conclusion. Okay? So the kids are using both sides of their brain, and if you have an effective teacher, that teacher understands the importance of linking the left and the right, because that creates the whole human. Now, as we move towards graduation and the big world ahead of us. Any questions? No one's sleeping. Visual spatial skill development. What is that? Visual spatial development. Sounds important. What do you think? You were a preschool teacher. What do you think?
I'm not even sure the technical term.
That's all right. I'm not putting you on the spot.
No. It's I used to use the term for certain things. I don't know if it's correct. Spatial reasoning.
Yeah.
Is that similar?
Understanding where you are in space.
Understanding where you are in space, where things are in space.
I mean, I used to use a simple thing like if you're on the beach
Yeah.
and it's crowded, and I'm here, and there's room around me, but I would have somebody come. There's a little space over here, and they would sit right here,
Right.
like they didn't know like their own space.
They weren't able to comprehend that there's a whole lot of beach over here that I could stretch out. They wouldn't
I don't
be.
know if it makes any sense of what
Yeah.
I'm saying, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that term was proper or correct to use in that
Yeah.
comparison, but
Yeah. So here's the thing. Visual spatial skills help kids understand where objects are in space. And here's an example. So if I'm going to draw my sister or my nephew, or in this example here, if I want to draw my dog, the kids have to understand, how big is my dog? Is he furry? Is he not furry? Does he have one eye? Does he have two eyes? Are the eyes inside his skull or outside of his skull? Are his ears above his eyes or are they below his eyes? So the arts help these children start to make sense of what could be chaos and gives them an opportunity to be relaxed and calm and put it all together. Okay? That's basically what visual spatial relationships and processing is all about. You're not wrong in your identification of it. It's reason. Okay? But think about it, math. I have to know how this goes with this to create this. I'm doing an experiment in science class. If I put the wrong chemical in first and then another one and it explodes, I don't think I'm going to pass. In physics, don't get me started. I took physics in high school. So visual and spatial processing, memory and self-control. All right, art builds memory. Yes, but we start from the second really when we're in utero, we have memory of sounds we hear coming through mom's belly, or voices from the family that we love. So how does this play a connection with the visual arts? Having that visual spatial ability leads to better memory and self-control. Think about it. If I ask you, Linda, I want you to draw a rose. What are you going to tell me about a rose that you need to recall as an adult? Shape, color,
Where you want to put it on paper.
how does it feel?
How big it is.
What does it smell like? Does it bite you? They do. You know, those little thorns. Yeah. Am I going to just make it one? Am I going to do a bouquet? Am I going to put it in a vase? I have to remember some of those things and recall what I know about them so far. As adults, we have all these life experiences. As young children, it's our job and our obligation to introduce them to these types of things that helps them become better. Right?
Also adds some texture too.
Adds
Because
texture.
you're building like what textures are. You also make the verbal too.
Yeah.
Like you can do like above, below.
One of the things that's most important that I strongly encourage with teachers that work with children is the multi-sensory approach. Use your eyes. Listen. What do you hear? Touch. What do you smell? Close your eyes. You know? Tasting is sketchy. You don't want to taste it. It's pretty detrimental. But, you know, but it's important that the kids start to put all those things together because they remember those things. All right, so when you're creating a work of art, children naturally work on self-discipline. They can't jump to the end without the beginning of that journey. How do I have, what is it, pink uniforms? I want to do the space explorer. Not that that's a boy girl thing, but the space explorers have more fun. I can't have the explorer without understanding, am I using a pencil? Am I using a crayon? Am I going to use mixed media, meaning I want 2 or 3 types of tools to make this happen? Am I going to cut paper? Am I going to string him up from my ceiling fan, turn it on high and let him fly? Am I going to, it's that type of imaginative thinking that allows the kids to have not only use of their memory, but some of the control and the self-control that we're talking about, okay? If a child is creating from memory, they work on recalling imagery. That game of memory. Flip 2 cards, I have to remember where the uniform was. All right? Art is very, very similar to that. Critical thinking skills. I said to my nephew one day, I said, I don't care how smart you think you are, if you can solve a problem more than one way, somebody's going to want to hire you at some point in time and you'll be hugely successful and be a nice person. Combine that with being a nice person and you'll go far. All right. Language development. Now, I've had some people argue with me on this. How does art promote language development? We're in the library, so that's important to all of us. Art gives kids the opportunity to talk about colors and shapes. When we're creating with children, please have them stand up, show you their work, and explain it to you. That is so critical because that gives them, think about public speaking. All right? Think about how to have confidence in themselves, how to use what's here and translate from here in a verbal message, okay? I had one experience, and I'm going to tell you this example, it was mortifying. I had a child who was 10 years old, completely acting out. He was miserable. I was miserable, he was miserable. I had to separate him, I had to sit him right in front of me at a desk. We were drawing a portrait of Van Gogh. Not an easy lesson, right? His finished product, and I'll tell you this, I could care less what it was. Art is about the journey and the process. And if I can encourage any of you who have children in your life or spend time with kids, it's all beautiful. It's the process these kids take that we need to be happy with and proud of and praise. Okay? But his finished project was great. He was so proud of himself. I mean, he was beaming on the inside. I could just feel it. And, you know, I had to separate him, and he was away from his friends, but he wasn't throwing erasers and sticking things in his mouth. But what happened at the end of class? Mom comes in on her cell phone. He's running to her. And what did she say? Can't you see I'm on the phone? I don't have time right now. Balloon was hot, exhausted. And it was a great learning experience for me to recognize anybody that I know that works with kids. That's so critical. Give them 30 seconds. Let them be proud. Let them be excited. Let them share with you what they've done. Because when they left, they could be just totally defeated. And that's just so unfair to the child. But the language skills, get them to explain. Comprehension skills. Duh. I mean, if you have an IKEA project, read those those Danish instructions on how to put a piece of furniture together. It's crazy. But for kids, it's really important. They either have to read it and understand that A goes to A, or C goes to D, or whatever the mode might be. But those comprehension skills are critical with art. Demonstrating. I'm a big demonstrator in a kid's class. I like to show them what's going to happen so that they can take it in and process that through. And then I excuse them to go and do. And it's fascinating every time. You talk about memory and recall. I love to watch these kids because if they were half paying attention, they got half of the instructions. If they were fully in it, they were right on the project. If they were not paying any attention, I could just tell they were sitting there, just I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do. But that's that comprehension, whether it be in a read text or a demonstration to somebody, can aid in their comprehension of what's going to happen. And then literacy skills. Visual art. Let's face it, folks. Kids are spending so much time in their phones, in their iPads, on their parents' computers, on their own computers, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. But they are stimulated by visual stuff all day long. So, we have an obligation to encourage visual art versus the stuff that they see on these electronic devices, so that they can understand how to communicate about those things versus the other not so great things. My oldest godson asked me to come play a video game with him once. This was, oh gosh, he's 24. This was probably 15 years ago. I sat down and it was just a bunch of people shooting, and the graphics were just mortifying. I said, I can't do this. I mean, I've got more important things to do. And he was just, what do you mean, Uncle Doug? This is so great. And I'm like, no, not so much, you know. Now, go back out, take a piece of paper, and draw me what you, no, don't draw me all of what you just showed, but draw me the background that was part of that, you know, or help me understand why you like this versus that. So the visual world is overstimulating to these kids, and why not use it to their benefit so that they can, again, grow and develop to be the best they can be. Rest, relaxation, and rewards. These are two projects that were completed by two boys last summer. And one of them is extremely ADHD, heavily medicated. I was forewarned. This boy did the fish on the right. For 3 hours, he never budged. I showed him how to cut paper. I showed him how to make it frilly. We wrapped cardboard with duct tape and foam. And it was fascinating to me to watch the interaction between both of these sat at the same table all week. They were driving each other crazy, but I figured this project would be interesting. So, what happens? Art making decreases the stress level, lowers anxiety, and helps with the child's overall mental health. I can tell you myself, when I'm in my studio, I am, like I said, blissfully happy. I escape the craziness. My mom will tell you I can be in the studio for 8 or 9 hours and completely forget what time it is. I'm like, oh, geez, I didn't eat. Let me go do it. So it does allow these children an opportunity to decompress and focus, right? It activates the reward center in our brain. Children want to have that reward center active because that's praise, right? They walk away with a sense of accomplishment and motivation to get creative again. If you've done anything well as a teacher or a parent or grandparent with an art project with kids, they can't wait to do it again. Can I do this tomorrow? You know, I know I've been successful when the parent tells me the next morning when they drop off at camp, they're like, they could not wait to get, okay, great, perfect. It's either me or the project, one or the other, maybe a combination of those. Okay? Concentration. We know this. Alice, when you're creating something, when you are knitting or sewing or hand building, where are you?
Well, it's very tactile, so yes, you're feeling the fiber. I call it my therapy because it actually does, in that respect, give me time to think about what happened that week and process my life. And then, working towards a goal is pretty exciting.
Yeah, you see it happen.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're concentrating.
Yes.
There might be things spinning around, but at least you're concentrating and focused. Reading a book, very similar. We escape the craziness and get into a book. All right. And sticking with it from beginning to end, I want to make a quick comment there. In today's art classes, do you know that many schools today share an art teacher? An art teacher has a mobile cart. He or she loads it in the back of their car. They go to school A for half a day, school B for half a day. They oftentimes are not funded for their supplies, so guess who has to buy them? The art teacher. All right. How many projects do you think these art teachers are finishing during the course of the year? Now, granted, art teachers have visual art standards of learning, SOLs, right? Just like the academic side of their classes. But how many art projects do you think these art teachers are getting done? Very few. I had a heart-to-heart with an art teacher probably about 10 years ago, and she said to me, she goes, I'm mortified at the end of every school year because I go back into the back room and I have unfired clay projects, I have unfinished paintings, I have unfinished yarn and looming type weaving projects. So what does that tell our children? Well, we can start it, we're excited about it, but we don't have to finish it. I hate to tell you this, folks, but when you go to a job and you have a task handed towards you, when you were working full-time, if you didn't finish something, you were probably fired, weren't you? Or heavily reprimanded. So, starting and not finishing is a bad thing for children. Give them the time to finish what they think is finished, and then praise them for it. Okay? And it's empowering for kids. They finish something. I want to hang it on the fridge. I want to hang it in my room. I want to show Grandma when she comes, right? Following steps in a sequence. Now, this is where we start getting into, a lot of times adults are their own worst enemies. I'll say, draw this way. I can't draw stick figure. Well, has anyone ever helped you figure this out? No. Okay, well, let's back it out. So, most everything in your life is a sequence of steps. I have no groceries in the house. I have to figure out what I need. So what am I going to do? Write it down on a list. Or most people today put it in their phone. And they sit at their phone and they look at it, right? And then what do they have to do? They have to get in the car and they have to drive to the store. Then what do they have to do? Get out of the car, lock the car, right? Sequencing of the events. Everything that we're going to do, math projects, science projects, reading projects, writing projects, you have to have a process. The visual arts, if you realize that these kids are starting with nothing and is resulting in something, requires a sequence of steps and activities. By them going through this process for a fun coloring book page, I have Snow White, but do I want to use crayons? Do I want to use markers? Do I want to color in the lines, or do I want to be a rebel and color out of the lines? Do I want to make it blue and green, or do I want to make her red and yellow? These types of decisions these kids are making is all critical to their full development as young humans, young adults, as they age. Okay? Imagination. If anyone knows this little boy in town, he is a riot. He is a hoot. I mean, Tom said it, but he is just such, talk about imagination. What comes out of his mouth sometimes, what comes out of his fingers and his artwork is pretty incredible. But art in all of its forms encourages a child to use their imagination. Writing stories encourages a child to use their imagination. All of their brain power needs to go into it. Okay? Escaping reality and enter this world that Alice and I talk about, where we're relaxed and we're just enjoying the journey and not worried about everything going on around us, adds to your well-being. I'm telling my mom, she's an extremely talented painter. She needs to start doing that. It's been 56 years, I think, since she's done it. She will find some peace. It doesn't have to look good. Who cares? It's the process and the journey that you take. Looking at and describing art can promote a child's imagination as well. You know, tell me, Linda, what do you think about this tree? What would you do with that tree?
The house,
Put it in your house. What room would you put it in?
the living room.
Why would you put it there?
Because it's tall.
Why could it fit in there?
Fit in there, it's tall,
What color is your living room?
tan,
What color is your furniture?
round, tan.
Would you have to move any furniture? I love challenging kids to do these kinds of things because, you know, if they're sitting there with a piece of construction paper, what is it, Sally, that you want to make? I don't know what I want. Well, what do you love most today? I don't know. What did you have for breakfast? I had Cheerios. What shape is a Cheerio? What's a circle? Why don't you do a whole pile of Cheerios? Okay. Just get them going, right? Once they start, they never stop. I'm not done, I need more Cheerios, you know, I need scissors, you know, give me something. Kids will learn to be original and innovative when using art from a young age. Preschool especially. They're learning shapes, they're learning colors, they're learning how to cut, they're learning how to tear. They are doing things to build these muscles, but they don't know that, they just think it's fun. You know, they'll learn how colors interplay together, how red and yellow make what? Orange. Yes. So they're learning at an early age, and it's our job to encourage this, to be able to express themselves. Okay? Let's talk about self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-expression. This really goes without saying. As I said earlier tonight, there's no wrong answer. That's the beauty of this ride that we're on with kids in the visual arts. There's no wrong answer. And if I hear parents criticize, one of the things I hear often that drives me crazy, and I don't say anything, is, well, yours doesn't look like Bobby's. Who cares? You know, parents are their own worst enemies sometimes because they're not thinking about the implications of these kinds of things. So, they are trying to make their children the best. But when they make that comment that, oh, Alice, I'm sorry, yours doesn't look, Bobby's looks like a line. Where's your line? You know, it's deflating. It's that balloon popped again. All right? They thrive when they're doing the decision making and they're driving the process. It's up to us to not kill them. Right? They learn how to trust themselves and communicate through art. Art therapy is a whole career. You know, I contemplated at one point, well, maybe I'll go get a degree in art therapy. That would be fun. Then I realized I have to deal with a lot of depressed people. I don't want to do that. But people that do it, I give all the credit in the world. So, you know, children that are doing art can deal, let's say they're coming from a hard family or a divorced family or, you know, they saw an abusive situation. You know, art helps them to escape and start to get what's here out and helps them to calm down. All right? May not solve everything, but at least it's a way to help them in that journey. Okay? Unlike schoolwork, there's no good, bad, or right or wrong to worry about. It's all about their vision, their goals, and what they're trying to do. Okay? The final product is completely in their hands, and what should we do? Praise it. Who cares what it looks like? Hang it on the fridge. Talk about it at the dinner table. Have the child help you make brownies. That's good fine motor. Mixing dough is a good fine motor skill. It's a good gross motor skill. It works these muscles. Okay? The more they can freely practice self-expression, the more confident they will be. Right? I'm droning on. We're almost done. Art encourages risk-taking. They don't know how they're going to get from point A to point B, but if you're encouraging and promoting their time to sit and do this, you'd be amazed at what they can do. These kids in the Boys and Girls Club last year, they had to they took turkeys and they had to wrap string, but they were panicked that they didn't have enough brown or red string. Like, be a rebel. Go neon pink, I don't care. It's your turkey. I mean, they were struggling. They wanted it to be real, and we were trying to encourage them to be yourself. And what ended up happening was amazing. They had some incredible projects. They were really thrilled, right? The key is that they need to accept the fact that what they produce and what they come up with is valuable, important, and special to them, right? Life skills. These last two slides are probably the most important. There's a few more. These are probably the two most important slides. If you encourage and work with children in this community, in your family, in your homes, these are the life skills that art will help improve. Sense of responsibility. Have children work together on a project. Okay. What's your first name?
Kelly?
Kelly. Kelly, you're going to be responsible for the grass. Okay? Linda, you're going to be responsible for the trees. If you like this one. All right? Okay, you're going to be responsible for putting the rocks in, whatever. All right? Give kids those responsibilities, and they have to understand their role in it, and think about what that does. That's social interaction. That's working as a group. You know, it doesn't have to be together. You're going to do the grass, then we're going to bring Linda up, and she's going to do the trees, and Linda's going to go sit down, and Kay's going to do the rocks, and this, that, and the other. Teamwork and collaboration. Encourage kids to work together. We do that in every class that we offer at the Art Center, and when we go teach places. Improving behaviors. There's nothing more gratifying, like I just said, those that have attention deficit problems, when they engage and they sink their teeth into a project, is watching them have behavioral modifications that are just stellar. And sometimes I taught a 100% Asperger's program at collegiate school in Richmond years ago. Every child in there, 12 of them, had Asperger's. And I taught them a step-by-step sequencing method of learning how to draw. And the parents were like, who did this? Your child? Yeah, they did. They sat for 3 hours? Yeah, they did. They just needed to understand in that work group how we were going to work together and the types of behaviors were expected. Now, I only had them for 3 hours, and it was getting close to the end where we were all going to lose it, but we made it through, right? Following directions, we talked about that. That's important. You know, kids, when they take academic tests, they have to be able to read and comprehend and answer a multiple choice question. Lord knows it better be right. Acceptance of criticism. What's the worst thing we can do? Be negatively critical. Always positive. These children need to understand that it's okay to have your work critiqued and praise what they've done and make suggestions of what they might want to do later. All right? But it's all about praise first and foremost. Improve social skills. Joining an art group, participating in a class. That, in the preschool, we do a lot of that. We encourage social skills, social interacting, so that they have to understand how to get along. And they all be different. And then conflict resolution. There's more than one way to get yourself out of this paper bag. And there's more than one way to deal with your neighbor in class who's pinching you or yelling at you or sticking their tongue out at you. And all through an art class or an art project can you help with that. Okay? How does it affect us personally and with our own identity? It allows us for exploration. Colleges and universities today are really not giving kids a chance to explore many things available to them. It's this, here's your project, I'm going to hand it to you, and you have to do this, and only this, right? Because this is how I'm going to grade, this is how I'm going to test you. We all know from our working world and our career, you better know multiple ways to do different things. If you don't, you can be in big trouble, right? Not every way may be right, but you'll find a right way or an acceptable way and pursue that. And if it's not right, you'll learn from it. Reflection and introspection. If you allow children to do more art, watch them. Just watch them when they're in that process. Watch how they think. You can smell their brains working sometimes and see smoke because they're in it and they're focused, and that's the best thing possible. Okay? Emotional intelligence, the highs and lows. Do kids have highs and lows today? Our world is brutal. Our world today is brutal. These kids need to understand that through the arts, they can help control their own emotions and how to have empathy for those around them. Okay? Self-expression we talked about. Patience. How many kids have patience today? I wanted it yesterday, Mom. You told me I could have that new iPhone yesterday. It's now today. I want it. No. You have to wait for the glue to dry. I did an alcohol ink project in campus. Well, alcohol inks are unforgiving until they set. These kids are like, I have to do what I got. Like, I have to wait. Watch it. I made them watch ink dry on tiles because I knew that was going to be helpful. I knew what was going on. They didn't. And at the end, they loved it. They thought it was fantastic. Okay? Persevere. At first you don't succeed, try again. I will tell you as the funny adults, as I tell all these kids, art is like anything else in your life. What do you have to do to be successful? Practice. 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 I ask the boys, are you in soccer? Do you swim? Play t-ball? Do you play softball? Play whatever? Yes, no, I do. What do you have to do every day or every week? You have to practice. Pick up your pencils, pick up your crayons, markers, and practice. Okay? Persevere. All right. Cultural and world awareness. The beauty of art is still that image, not I don't have to use it. But anyhow, using arts and crafts develops awareness of children from around the world in different art forms that they can appreciate, respect, and feel a part of because it's in the art community. All right. It can help minimize bullying. This is a tremendous problem in the schools today. There are more kids being homeschooled now because they've been bullied, because they look different, they act different, they talk different. And I don't even know, when I was in school, I don't even think that was a thing. Well, when we were all in school, that wasn't even, we might have been picked on every once in a while, but it is such a problem today that helping kids understand that there are different ways of doing different things in different cultures, and different children have different ideas and different thoughts, helps them to accept more frequently and minimize bullying. And then just a few projects, I love these. I love giving kids a background on what sugar skulls are in the Hispanic community, drawing them, decorating them. I love African mask. What is the importance of an African mask? So you're linking some history, some cultural information, Indian structures, what the dream catcher was that, Native Americans, just Indian culture, painting that beautiful skin tone. What colors would you use to make that? So, the cultural awareness in the arts is really, really important. So, what can you do? Pass my time. What can we do, folks? Give me one.
Encourage kids to do that.
Wow. Did you steal my presentation? Linda, encourage them to create. What else can we do? Promote communication, you guys. If you go someplace and you see a child that's got a piece of artwork, ask that child. They might think you're a stalker. Ask that child about their art. Let them talk to you about it. You would be surprised what comes out of their mouth and what they think about their art versus what you might think about their art. All right? Provide kids with the tools that they require. Buy them tools. Buy them supplies. Cover everything in paper. I don't care. Don't buy things that stain. Things that you can clean, but give them the tools. Set up a studio and call it a studio. Kids, I have found, love it. You have a studio, Mr. Bell? I do. It used to be what? My kitchen table was my studio. They can have a studio. Set it up. Call it that. Put a little sign up there that says, my studio. If you're having a rough day, Sally, go on in there and create it your studio. Okay. You'd be surprised what happens. Provide examples and information. It might be your job as the big person to find and seek out resources to show these kids to help them understand different forms of art. okay? Let's say you want to show them pottery or sculpture. They don't know what to do or where to go, so it's up to you to help them find the resources that they need and then encourage them. Get them involved in classes and activities. If you live local and you have children, the RAL Art Center is less than a block away. We have scholarship money available that no one's taking advantage of to allow children who may not be able to afford classes to take classes in no trouble. Bring them, get them involved, take them over. It's amazing. It's an amazing facility. Alice is on our board. Hopefully she can tell you this. So get them involved. Be positive with their artwork and display it. Read books and magazines with them. Show them. Picture books, coffee table books. Go through it. Be careful with the news. They get a little panicked about that. Be a voice in their school to promote the arts. You would be surprised how many schools are just cutting, not doing it at all. Find a way to make a difference. Sit down and work with your children or your grandchildren. Go to museums and exhibits. When kids come in the gallery door up there, some of the older folks, not age, but some of the more experienced members panic. There's kids in the building. Okay, let them be there. You know, they might have dirty hands. Don't touch the art. Okay? And most importantly, have fun. In conclusion, what have we learned? Arts and crafts are very beneficial. We didn't talk so much about the academic link, but I hope you recognize a lot of this stuff goes right into math, science, reading comprehension, history, a lot of history. Art can be linked to that in a hot second. Handwriting is a problem. They don't teach handwriting in schools. So there's absolutely no ability for these kids to learn how to use these and use this to connect to these and this. I mean, it's crazy. And it's important that we as parents and or just lovers of kids make a difference and make sure they grow up as well-rounded as possible, because they'll be more successful if they're well-rounded than shoved down through a pipe, memorizing test questions. Right? Huh?
You need to be in the education, make the decisions for education.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't know. I got this slide I'm going to give to everybody before you leave tonight. Okay, this just really talks about everything and gives you the resources where a lot of this information is pulled from. But this tells you the full brain development of the fine arts and how it works and how it benefits every child. And then last but not least, my thanks to Alice in the library. The programs that you do here for the community are extremely beneficial. I need to take part in more of them if I could just find the time to be there. And lastly, take action, make a difference, and be positive. The last slide. Yes, I sure can. Hold on. Backwards, right, Shelley? Yes.
Uh-huh.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, you're reading through it? You have a question about it, or are you?
The red. The red.
Here's your own. It's not in color,
Okay.
but you're getting it. Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Yes, ma'am. Give me some questions. What are your thoughts? Was this just a bunch of gobbledygook? Did it make some connections to how important this is? Yes.
When you have children come to you, do you title it art classes or art lessons?
It depends on the program.
The only reason I say that, 'cause sometimes I see it more on social media, it's like the parent groups, you know, you get people asking for art lessons for their 3-year-old or their 2-year-old, or it goes into the violin lesson, dance lesson, and I don't, at that age, I think it's more classes.
You know, after all these years of working with kids, no one's ever asked me that question. You're right, you're having a violin lesson, a piano lesson. You're not having a piano class.
And I think it all goes back to what you said before. I mean, everybody wants the best for their kids.
Yeah.
That's a given. But it's always like, they have to be the best, because then going back to, maybe I'm getting too psychological or whatever, but then going back to the adult, I have to display this,
Yeah.
so-and-so is, and to me, it's just classes, you know, we're gonna go to a couple here to see what you like to do, explore, you know, what's going on, you know.
Yeah.
If art, you know, helps you, you know, I have friends that their son, he has, ADHD and,
Mhm.
you know, he was in sports, he wasn't this, he wasn't this, he wasn't this. But they found that karate, different things, I mean, I'm from up north,
Yeah.
Jersey originally.
I can
but
hear
they-
it.
Yeah, they found that, you know, they guess they found a good school, but I don't know much about it, but it's helped him.
Yeah.
They found, I'm glad for their sake, they finally found something that's given him the confidence, and not every boy has to be on the soccer team or whatever, but, you know.
Well, the
they-
martial arts, let me share with you one thing. Martial arts are all about respect,
Mhm.
right? What else?
Discipline.
Discipline.
Follow directions.
It's all about all these things, but it's respect first, and then discipline and tasks.
It's been a very positive
Yeah. Oh, I can
influence
see
on
it.
this, you
I can
know,
see it. Yeah.
on this, you know, he's
Yeah.
12 now, but he's been, you know, it's been a positive thing for him.
I will say this. So to answer your question, I've always called them art classes or camps. I've never called them art lessons unless somebody is paying for private lessons where they want to learn how to do portraiture.
Right.
So every lesson is built upon, here's how you draw and execute an eye, here's how you do a nose, here's how you draw lips, here's how you render an ear.
There's some ways to do it.
Yeah. But I will tell you from an attention deficit standpoint, and a lot of attention problems that kids have, and a lot of illnesses kids have now where they just can't stay focused. The visual arts are critical, but you have to understand where they are with it. Here's an example. I had a young lady in a Richmond program, could not sit down to save her life. And I started the week making everybody sit. By Tuesday afternoon at 4, I'm like, if I let her stand and do her thing and dance while and move while she's creating, the rest of the week was angelic. The other kids had to recognize that she was going to work this way and they were going to work this way. So that was my job to instruct accordingly. But I was trying to make everybody conform. I should have known that. She needs to do her way so she can engage in that completely. And your friend's son, karate gave him the discipline, the respect, and the tasks that he needed to be successful. But my guess there is it's the discipline and respect,
Yes.
But so you have to there's no cookie cutter answer. Lessons, classes, camps, workshops. To me, it's all art. Just get them in and bring them. So
The
yeah.
difference between like giving the materials and say, here are materials, here are some of the things you can do with it, here's some techniques, do what you want, versus here we're all going to make fish, you can do it in different ways, and here's the materials. So there are different ways I would assume I'm doing it.
Well, here's the thing. I find giving kids some fundamental skills and steps is a good way to get them started, and then they're free. So, Linda, you just got yourself a job. I wasn't going to do this, but now I am. Come here. On the sheet of paper on the right, I want you to draw a flower. Okay, you drew more than a flower. That's perfectly fine. Now, listen to me, okay? we're going to draw a flower together. I want you to draw the middle of the flower part as big as a line. Okay, you know what a surfboard is? Okay, look at your hand, hold it up. Look at your fingers, okay? Look how long your fingers are when you hold them. I want you to do 7 petals connected to your line, shaped like a surfboard.
What do my fingers have to do with it?
That's how long I want your surfboard to be. I want your stem to be perfectly straight but diagonal going down to the right corner of your paper. I want it to go all the way to the edge of your paper. I want you to do another line that's called parallel right beside it to the left of that line. Okay. Look at the flower's feet. I just gave her some skills to go home and say, I know how big a line is. I know what a surfboard looks like. I have a boogie board. I know two lines that go beside each other. Now, they don't have to always be straight. They can be zigzag, curvy, wurvy, but look at the difference in the flowers. So, I would expect you now to go home and I would say, Linda, go home and draw as many flowers as you can. There would be a nice combination of both. I've given you a few things to recall memory, lines, surfboards, how long your fingers are. You know that because they're attached to you. Straight line at a diagonal, right? Yeah, that's right. You're not being criticized. They're both beautiful flowers. Judges take them home, but okay. But that's the type of thing that is important for children. If they don't have anybody in school helping them do that, who's going to help them? So now they could create this and some of these. Some could be big, some could be small. Some, we didn't talk about color. We just gave them some things to sink their teeth into that they'll remember. You'll remember this exercise 20 years from now. You'll be like, that knucklehead maybe stand in front of her mom. All right? So that's that's a sequencing thing, right? We started with the center of the flower, and we did some petals, then we did a stem, all right? If the child goes home and decides to do the stems first and draw 50 stems and then put different flowers, I don't care. It's the journey.
And when you're doing geometry, you can do that in math class.
Absolutely. There are so many visual learners in the world right now, and the schools are squashing them like a bug. They're trying to force them to be left brain, logical learners, and they are visual. Watch kids learn math using colored Post-it notes. I'd like you to take 2 pink ones and 4 green ones and 3 orange ones, and tell me how many total you have. It's the visual connection. They're being left behind in the schools. Because this new way of math is crazy. Right? But, and those are the kids that are being lost. So, the visual arts in that capacity are really important. Alice, you're just pondering, like, some time to go. I wish there would have been more people here because this is so important for people to know. I know they take this, so we're going to link it to the Art Center site, and I may even link it through my personal webpage, my website, because it's important that people recognize
In the school system that I was teaching, there was a section of time where we did interrelated arts with kids in the education.
Yeah.
So we were trying to, like, when you do math, you do art classes with math, and trying to, like, do your social studies, and you do the Americans, and then do art projects.
Well, I'm going to throw this plug in. The RAL Art Center was awarded a nice grant from the Wiley Foundation where we're going to be hiring a youth program coordinator and manager through that funding, and we are going to be starting a very intensive youth program that will take time to build. But we're going to partner with the schools, we're going to partner with the preschools, we're going to do in-class workshops where we're linking the day's math project with an art class. The new elementary school, the assistant principal has asked if we'd be interested in trying to create an after-school art club. Yes, we'll figure that out. I don't know how, but we'll figure it out. So it's going to be called SMART, Classes for Young Artists. It's going to be little s, little m, a, r, t, and the art will be colorized. So when you start seeing that plastered around town in the library and things, it's called SMART, Classes for Young Artists. It's called Classes for Young Artists. Right? Get them involved, or invite us, or if you know somebody, connect us with them, because it's important that we teach as many of these kids as we can. Okay. Shelley, do you have any questions? Are you awake?
I am awake, and I just checked 34 people have been watching online.
Okay.
So,
Hi, 34 people.
yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Just 24. Go home. Eat dinner. Linda, do you want your flowers?